Guys, we have had news because it's never dull. It's never dull at Tottenham. Even when it's dull, it's not dull because something is happening. And this week, we have had this. Guys, we've had this. Look, we've got these two gentlemen. Look, he's doing his best Lubo Bollock cam impression there. Is Fabio Paratici trying to show us all his bits and pieces. Tottenham unveil a new men's football leadership structure. Who would like to start on this? Is this exciting? Is this just what we've had for the last however long? But now it's official. Gift wraps, there's a bow on it, and now it's got a title. Let me go, Johnny. Go on, Johnny. You start.
Honestly, I'm so buzzing for this. For me, this is what I've been waiting for a long, long time. Look, the thing is, Johan Lange has had a promotion. They need to do something. It's Thomas Frank's long-time buddy from their old days when he was teaching kids how to play football, and therefore they got a very strong relationship. And rather than rocking the boat and forcing him out, he'll work in tandem with Fabio. But Fabio ultimately is the overseer of all the football. I think the thing is here, a lot of people are saying too many cooks spoil the broth. But I believe that there is so much going on now in football. I think he said it himself. Football, the director of football job has changed dramatically over the last 10, 15 years. Certainly since he was at Juventus. But you know what? Even at Juventus, he worked in conjunction with somebody else at Juve. It wasn't just him on his own. And since that time that he was on Juve, it's expanded. The role has expanded even greater. You've got the women's team. You've got performance. You've got medical. You've got scouting. You've got data. And I don't believe it's physically possible for one person to cover it all. Will they all agree on everything? I doubt it. But I would rather have an open debate rather than, the situation that was there before where Daniel employs top people, supposedly, not all of them, Scott Munn and others, to do a job and then decides to make the decision himself who should be coming to the club, who he should be buying, who he should be paying for. Ask Conte, ask other managers that have been at the club. They haven't always got what they wanted. And I think with Thomas Frank speaking and getting on so well with Vinay and with Don and Johan Lange, I think it can only be a good thing personally. And I think they spoke about how many different infrastructures there are in football in general at various different clubs. But I was looking into it after I spoke to Sean earlier, and there are many clubs which have 2, 3, sort of heads working in conjunction. But for me, the Don is the man. He's the guy with the black book. He's the guy with the contacts. He's the man that can get shit over the line. He's the guy that recommended stuff to Daniel, who didn't always get stuff over the line. I'm not going to go into various players, but for me, it's what I've been waiting for a long, long time. I know what he did with the academy, and I think we are starting to see parts of that academy and how it's progressed from an Instagram academy full of kids who are saying I'm playing for Spurs who will never go on to do anything, to kids that might not all go on to play for England, but they will offer value to the club. Even if they don't play for the club, whether they're sold for 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, they all contribute to the coffers. I'm over the moon about it, personally. I think it's a good step for the club. And to be honest with you, the one thing I said about Vinay was that we would find for the first time in years and years and years that we would have someone who is in touch with the fan base, who understands what the fan base wants, and to have 4 of these little videos or 3 or 4 videos that we've had in quick succession in such a short space of time, feeding us what we want, rather than that pathetic video that we used to get in the January transfer window when they roll out Johan Lange to give us a load of bollocks about how difficult the transfer window is and why we couldn't sign the people we wanted.
Well, look, let me come to Sean, just to let you know, I'm coming to you last, just because you and I did a video on this yesterday. So, Stel, Johnny's over the moon, and Spurs clearly wanted Paratici back, because for about 2 years, all I've bloody heard from this fan base is the Don, Fabio, he's coming back. He's back. Are you over the moon? Have you had a party at your household to celebrate Paratici's return?
About a party. Takes a lot for me to have a party. I think it's good that he's back, because out of all the football directors we've had since Mitchell, he's probably been the best one. He restructured our academy as well, and supposedly he's brought in a lot of promising youngsters. We've yet to see these promising youngsters play in the first team. That's a different conversation. That's out of Paratici's hands. That's not down to him. I'm not so sure what I think of Lange, if I'm honest with you. I liked it when it was Paratici and Gabbiadini. I kind of thought when Paratici left us that Gabbiadini would have stepped in. So I would have rather he come back and work with Paratici and Lange being there, because I'm on the fence with Lange. I really don't know what to make of him.
I agree.
Paratici, I'm happy. I think it's good that he's come back. And don't forget, our academy director was headhunted by Paratici. The reason Davies is in charge is because Paratici headhunted him when he was going to go to Burnley with Vincent Kompany. So, yeah, look, I'm happy he's back. I think it's a positive move. Paratici being back at Spurs is a positive, in my opinion.
All right. I mean, Lubo, just before we move on, first of all, you lot in the chat, smash the like button. I'm not doing what we did last week. Last week was utterly shambolic. Smash that like button, please, and subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to all the guys as well, even Football Inc., that channel that can't be mentioned. I'll mention that and that only at the moment. Please subscribe to Football Inc. Lubo,
10 minutes. It's 10 minutes.
Before we move on, Lubo, this is what we've been officially told is the remits, so that people don't think they're both doing the same thing. This is what we've been told the remits are, is that Johan Lange is going to be looking at the academy, the scouting, performance analysis, and football insights, whereas Fabio is transfer windows, players, and loan and pathways development. So I don't know what you make of that, but what I make of that is that it very much looks like Fabio is more your traditional director of football from a transfer perspective, which is really what most fans care about, right? They care who's doing the transfers.
Yeah, listen, I saw the two interviews was it yesterday when they came out? Absolutely delighted. You've got owners now who have knocked back three people that have shown interest in buying the club. They're saying they're sticking around now. They want to build up the club. They want to keep winning trophies. They're now building a structure at the club for the first time for a very, very long time. So up to now, we can't have any complaints. They're saying the right things. They're doing the right things. Whether it all comes to fruition over the next two transfer windows, where all the fans are looking to see that ambition that they are promising. Actions speak louder than words. But until the transfer window opens in January, we just got to judge them on their actions up to now. And so far, for me, I'm joining, the old Butler mantra of Enoch in. So for me, it's Enoch in at the moment.
Can I ask you a question, Lubo? Can I ask you a question?
Jesus Christ.
I love this. I love this. So basically, everything that was wrong with our club was one man. It was all Daniel Levy. It was not Enoch. It was all Daniel Levy. Every signing, everything. I love it. Love it.
Two men. Joe Lewis, Daniel Levy. Now, hopefully, we've got the Lewis kids. It's all 60 plus kids who are there, who have actually realised, you know what, Dad's done a great job up to here, but we are now going to take it on to the next level. And that's what I'm hoping as a fan. You know, the fact that they've actually knocked back 3 people that are interested in buying the club. They're saying we're not selling. Vinay's in. He's doing his stuff. They bought Paratici back. He will be the boss. There might be 2 co-sporting directors, but I think Paratici will probably cover. You know, he'll carry more weight, I would have thought, with his experience and know-how. And no, really exciting times. Hopefully now the transfer window will carry on this positivity, and we'll see from there that we're going for the right players. Can't guarantee you always get the players you want, but
Luca, let me ask you that.
We're going to go on.
I want to ask you before I bring Sean in. There are those that are not completely enamored with Fabio Paratici, and there are those that are those that love him, and then you've got those that are on the fence. And I think that's the same of any manager, any player, anybody associated with a club. What would you say for those that have said, well, Paratici, he signed some good players, but he also signed a lot of duds, right? He didn't. If we're going to be fair, he didn't address in any of his windows. He really didn't address our forward area at all. What would you say? What's going to be different now? Because he didn't do it then. Why is it going to be different now?
Well, he sort of took a back seat when Lange came in, didn't he? And Lange came in. And up to then, Harry was at the club. You know, the first 2 or 3 years, Paratici was at Spurs, Harry was there, and we had prime Kane, prime son. You could say, yes, there was no succession put in place. I would agree with that 100%. You know, when we had 85, 86 million coming in for Kane, there should have been a striker lined up, even if it costs another 20 million on top of the Kane money, someone of a similar level to come straight in. It didn't happen. And it hasn't happened with Son either. Listen, no one gets it right. Everybody looks at Ferguson in terms of Premier League terms. Ferguson has been the best manager for decades. I think you look at his trophy count, and I think we all agree with that. Ferguson bought Cleberson, Jemba, Massimo Taibi. All of them get them wrong. They all get them wrong. You know, and Paratici brought in Emerson Royale, you know, to use, but hi Nick, if you're watching.
Brian Hill,
so
Galini. I mean, I could go on. I think he's bought a lot of shit.
Yeah, I could go on as well. But I could tell you his good ones as well.
This is my worry. Just as I'll bring Sean in. This is my worry. And again, half of me, Sean, on this is. And this is my opinion. I'm not sitting on a fence. I'm not playing devil's advocate. This is my opinion. I don't mind Paratici. I've got no problem with him coming back to the club. But I do feel like there's a lot of revisionism from people that he bought a lot better players than he actually did. Because when you actually look through the list of players he's bought, who's he actually bought that you go, wow, top footballer?
Cuti Romero.
Okay.
Pedro Porro. Destiny Udogie.
Yeah, can't defend, but yeah.
Nicky van der Ven. Vuskovic. Kulu. Bentancur.
Richarlison.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Are we calling Kulu and Bentancur players? I don't know.
Let me tell you something. Elliot, let me tell you something. When they bought Kulu and Bentancur in at the depth of the transfer window, Spurs fans were up in arms. Who are these flipping dropouts? Can't even get in the Juventus team. Meanwhile, they had a massive impact on us in that last few months. They help us get top 4, right? Look, you know, I suppose Bentancur is one that divides a lot of people. Personally, I think up until the point of his injury, I don't think there was any doubt at how class a player he was until he got that major injury. And whilst, you know, he's not at that level, he's still been a useful player. And let's look at the prices. 17 million, 12 million for Papasar, 15 million for Destiny Udogie, you know, 40 million for Cuti Romero. I mean, yes, he has got players wrong. Absolutely. But you show me anyone on the pitch, off the pitch, in business that's got it all right. They definitely haven't, and he definitely hasn't. But when I look at the squad now, when you look at the squad overall, there's still a large proportion of that squad, the base of that squad, which are the players that he's brought in. And as Ian just said, we have had 2 years where he's been sort of pushed away and out of it. I remember people complaining about the Vuskovic deal. Why are we spending a record amount of money on a 16-year-old when we need money spent on the main team? I remember that very clearly. I think, look, the jury's out on some of the players. I think when a lot of people go on about the players, they forget how he managed to somehow convince Daniel Levy to stop pissing around with the wages that he was offering the academy kids who were on the verge of all leaving. The Romain Mundle saga when he left was the sort of catalyst for him to sort of wake up and say, look, they're all going to leave unless you start paying the money or equivalent of what they're getting in the academy. And that has arrested a lot of what happened. We had to go backwards to come forward. And I think he hasn't had enough credit for that, because right now, when you look at it, we haven't seen tons of players coming through. But we would never have had a situation where we paid 2 million for Will Lancashire, or buying players from Manchester, getting players in from Manchester City. So whilst on the surface, people look at the Galini, the Richarlison, and rightly so, and the Brian Gills, I think they need to look at the bigger picture overall.
The Chicken Royale.
And you cannot stay at Juventus for 10 years and be shit, right? It's as simple as that. You don't survive in Italy unless you're quality for 10 years.
I think, Johnny, I think what it is with Paratici, it's what I was alluding to. I don't think he's wow. He's just the best that we've had in recent times. And Since Mitchell, yeah. So to have him back just means at least there's going to be some level that we can expect. Look, for me, the work he did with our academy was really good, and we are going to see the fruits of it at some point. I remember I was saying about 2-3 years ago on Tottenham away that the current crop, you're not really going to see them break through, unfortunately. Where the academy director was really putting a lot of praise on was the current under 14s and under 12s at the time. They're now the under 17s and the under 15s. Well, guess who's in that crop? Williams Barnett. So that is the talent, Byfield. So these are the talent, hopefully now we're going to see come through. And I do believe at some point Vuskovic will play for Spurs. I think he's doing too well on his loan deals to not feature at the club at some point. Or we're going to sell him for really good money, one of the two. But in terms of transfers for the first team, we're gonna wait and see what he does. I do believe, though, we are spending more on transfers, individual transfers now than what we did under Paratici. I think the shackles have come off a bit, which should help.
He was limited, and that's one part. It's a very good point to make still. You know, he did have his hands tied behind his back. And I'm not going to go into certain, but I know 2 transfers that he did recommend, which never came to fruition because Daniel didn't. This is what Sean and I were speaking about earlier on Spurs talk show was, why would you employ somebody to do a job? He does his job. He presents the case for a certain player, and the guy who knows nothing about football, who sits on top, decides, no, I'm not spending that and I'm not doing that. And we've seen the upshot of it. And maybe now things are going to be different. I believe I'd rather take the positive road on all this to say that this is the start of something special. I feel a vibe that I haven't felt in a long, long time. It's been so much negativity around our club, even during the positive times. And I think that now, finally, there's something positive to grab onto.
Can I just say, Sean, thank you for your answer there that I asked you 5 minutes ago, and then the other 2 just completely answered. Absolutely amazing that was.
You're welcome, Sean. You're welcome.
Ventriloquism. It's a new skill. I'm trying to figure it out.
Sorry,
that's all good. It's all good. look, for me, I mean, I want to reverse engineer this a little bit. I think that Johnny just sort of slapped one on Daniel Levy for tying the hands of Paratici. I think you also have to remember that Paratici was the next guy after the previous bozo who spent so much money on absolute dross. He spent. Let's not forget that we were sort of still licking our wounds from 42 bar dropped on Davinson Sanchez, 23 on Serge Aurier, 55 on Tanguy Ndombele, 55 million on Lo Celso, 25 on Ryan Sessegnon, 27 on Stephen Bergwijn, 15 on Matt Doherty, 11 on Joe Rodon. These were the recommendations of Steve Hitchin that Daniel Levy listened to, got the job done, and then Paratici, to his credit, had to then work within that remit of trying to get through that crap, getting rid of those, a lot of those players. So there's like I want to sort of defend the honour of Daniel Levy a little bit in that regard, that Paratici was working with his hands tied behind his back. I'm not sure. I think the last time someone had their hands untied that Daniel Levy had trusted, he was let down massively by that guy, Steve Hitchens. So,
can I ask you, just quickly, before you carry on, did Paratici buy Richarlison and Solanke?
Yeah. No, Solanke was under. Solanke was
Paratici.
No, the new guy.
No, it was Lange. He wanted him. It was Lange.
Solanke was under Lange.
Lange only start in October.
Yeah, no. Lange start. I've got the dates here.
Solanke joined in August or July.
Solanke was not Paratici.
No, Johan Lange started in October 2023.
It was Ange, mate. That's all he spoke about. He said it in himself. He was the one he wanted. Yeah.
Okay.
Johan Lange started in October 23. Solanke joined in 24, right?
He stated the fact all the way through that this is the guy that he wanted more than anybody. Same as he wanted Brenda Johnson. Listen, if you'd have put Steve Hitchin, imagine Steve Hitchin and Ange Postecoglou together. Could you imagine the damage those two would have done? Wow, talent ID.
Sorry for cutting you off, Sean. So I just wanted to check because
that's all right. No,
Sean,
all right.
You take this on at the end. I want you to take this on at the end, Sean, because when I ask about it, my thing is all the list of names I get from Paratici. My worry is that this guy doesn't know attacking players. I don't see any good attacking players that this guy has signed to Tottenham Hotspur during his time.
I've got I'll show you now. I'll share my screen. I've got the list up. This is from the show I did earlier with Johnny. Here's the entire list. There's a couple of things that are out of sync, but there's the entire list. We can go through it in a second. But just before you bring it up, just quickly, I'll just finish what I was saying about about the Paratici and the Johan Lange kind of the dual citizenship thing we got going on here. The co inhabitants. Like I personally look, I'm happy that Paratici's back. I think he's the best that we've had for a long time, and I'm delighted that hopefully he can come in and steer the reins. This notion that there's so much to do now that you absolutely have to have two co-joint chairs of this particular division, I find it silly. The only other team that has two directors, if you like, or sporting directors is Chelsea. Everybody else has one guy that is the overarching captain of that particular side of them. They might have many layers beneath it. And maybe we're splitting hairs on the fact that just because they're called co-joint, whatever, sporting directors, maybe they're not in reality and that one has more control over the other one. If I'm honest, though, it comes across to me like it was a very easy decision to make, or the easiest decision to make, but not necessarily the smartest one. Like I think it's short-term gain. Everyone goes into these environments when at the start of a project thinking, yeah, we'll work together, no problem. Yeah, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I've got your back, you've got mine. You look after this side, I'll look after that side. And then all great. Within a very small and short space of time, egos are going to ego, like always in that sort of thing. People are going to want to take credit for the successes and they're going to want to point the finger for the failures. And that would be okay if there's absolutely no overlap. But there's so much overlap in the divisions of labour that have already been spelt out. One of them is responsible for the youth team. The other one's responsible for the loans of the youth team. Like, how's that going to work out, right? Like, if you've got a player that Johan Lange has been studying and watching more closely than Paratici through the under 15s, 16s, 18s, 19s, 21s, whatever, and then they go, right, he's ready for a loan, but he's not ready for the first team yet. Over to you, Fabio. You go and find the place for that loan. and then the loan doesn't work out, whose fault is it? Is it Fabio's fault for not picking the right club? Is it Johann's fault for suggesting he was more ahead of the, ahead or behind the certain development that, than the caliber of club that he was sent out to? What about when you have, if Paratici is responsible for the transfers, but Johann Lange's responsible for the scouting? So then what? So Fabio Paratici has to go and negotiate the deals for the players that Johann thinks are brilliant, but that Fabio might not? Does that infer then that Fabio might go, you know what, I don't really rate this guy that Johann's, that Lange has presented to me. I'm probably not going to work that hard on this negotiation. So hopefully it doesn't happen. So we can go to the second guy on the list that was actually my guy in the first place. It doesn't make any sense. It just seems like it's an easy option to say, we want Paratici back. We rate him. We know how valuable he is. With Daniel Levy out of the way, and there's a massive vacuum of responsibility that someone needs to handle with regards to negotiations, someone that's convivial, someone that's got all of the energy, the relationships, yada, yada, yada. We'll bring back you, Fabio. But how do we do that in a way that's respectful to Johann Lange? Because he's obviously got some skill sets that we find that are worth keeping. He hasn't really done anything wrong, so he's not going to hang around, or he's going to feel disrespected if the naughty boy, the guy on the naughty step that's been away for 2 years, is back in and he's promoted to be Johann's boss. That's not going to work out well or go down very well with Johann. That's going to cause friction. But is Paratici going to come back and play second fiddle to Johann? Absolutely not. So let's just call them the same, pay them the same, let them act like they're both in charge, and then give them a couple of divisions of the game each and think that it's all going to work out. I think it sounds great on paper, but I think within no amount of time at all, there'll be the first signs of friction when they have to have decisions around what particular path to pursue on any number of categories, and that they don't agree. And if they end up making a decision, what are they going to compromise? Are they going to sit there and say, well, I want this player who's more of a younger player that's brilliant going forward? Well, I think the priority happens to be something else. Well, let's meet in the middle and go for someone that neither of us particularly want, but there's like that way no one's losing. Or does it become you have this one, I'll get the next one, a 1-for-1? Like, that's not going to work out either. Then you've got the awkward relationship of like the situation with Thomas Frank. Does Thomas Frank know Paratici? How well does he know him? We definitely know that Johann Lange and Paratici are mates. Does that mean that Paratici is more likely to go and employ the guy Gabonini, Estelle said, who was his mate in the previous iteration, just so that there's no cliques and that there's no favoritism?
There's reports of that today, isn't there? There's reports of that today that
Gabonini, right?
Is trying to bring back. I like it. I think Stell calls him Gabbiadini, who I think played up front for Derby, if I'm not wrong.
I get everyone's names wrong.
In the 90s. Was it Marco? Was it Marco Gabbiadini?
Yeah.
Marco Gabbiadini.
Yeah.
So the Gabonini,
is he going to pick? Is he going to? Sorry, Johnny. Is he going to?
Let's
go?
Call him Gabby.
Gabby. Is he going to get Gabby in? One, because he wants his boy back, but two, because he knows that there's 4 people then that are going to be in the room that are discussing things, and then you might have I don't know what the word is, not popularity contests, but you might have tribalism, cliques, and people taking sides. Yeah, everyone's got a vote. Exactly. So I think that there's a reason why in most hierarchies, in most businesses, there's one guy at the top, and it's a pyramid structure generally, right? And then within the footballing side of our business, that's giant global business that incorporates so many different things. Within the football side, I would like to see an overarching pyramid where there's one guy at the top, whether that's, I think it should have been Paratici personally, no disrespect to Lange, but I don't rate him to the same degree as I rate Paratici. But I think that Vinay's taken the decision because it's a difficult decision to pick one, and it's a very complex one to fire one or to let one go. So you know what, we'll just give you both a bit and figure it out amongst yourselves, and they'll spin it as 2 heads are better than one. I don't see it working in the long term.
Can I ask you, right? I just want to, because everyone seems to kind of have this same rhetoric when it comes to Lange, right? He's all right, don't really know what he does. Devil's advocate this time, this isn't me. Can we not say that Lange brought in Kudus, Paulinho, and Simmons?
Yeah, if you pull that list up now, Sav, there's the names just on the.
I don't know.
There's a lot like this. I think the debate's worth having because there's a lot of. I took the first 5 guys, right? The last 5 guys, right? So scroll the way back up here. This was Baldini from 2013 to 2015.
Oh God!
I mean, his list was Lamella. This was the post Bale money. Lamella, Soldado, Paulinho, Ericsson, Nasser Chadli.
Ben Davies says it all.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't great. He had a lot of money to spend.
Davis, please. A lot more respect. He's about to do his 25th season at the club. So can you just
Jesus Christ.
Captain of the Reading Club. So he had a lot of money to spend because he obviously got the Gareth Bale 86 million, and this was back when 86 was 100 million was quite a lot of money. And then he sold Dempsey, Huddlestone, Parker, Corker, Livermore, Luongo, Sigurdsson, Dawson, Sandro, Holtby, and Esso Costa.
Massimo Luongo, the Australian, yeah.
So then you've got Paul Mitchell.
Yeah, there's some good.
Who on a value for money basis, Paul Mitchell picked some absolute classy ones, didn't he? Ali, Toby, Sonny, Trippier. I think we even actually ended up making money on Wimmer, if I'm not mistaken.
We sold him for 10 million.
Not Janssen, even Wanyama at 11 million was what we massively needed at the time, wasn't it? So
yeah,
correct. Yeah.
Only this one here, I don't remember him actually playing very many games. Nkunku
wasn't Nkudu. I like the way they've called him Nkunku. Wasn't Nkudu the one that was locked in? That wasn't there something about him being in a hotel room for like 5 days or something? Does anyone remember that?
I don't remember that.
No? Okay, just me. My silly brain. All right. Someone in the chat, anyone else remember? I feel like he was hauled up in a hotel room for some time. I don't know why.
But he also managed to get 10 bar for Paulinho when China was like, I think I said it earlier, it's like China were playing like Saudi Arabia from Wish when they were faking it with their money, their access to some sort of stars for a couple of years, weren't they? They fizzled out.
Hang on, he got 13 million for Ryan Mason.
He went to Hull.
Yeah, for 13 million. According to Grok, I don't know if it's all.
Grok does invent a few things. I mean, earlier Semenyo was in the list of.
Yeah. No, I'll zoom forward quickly. This is Johan Lang, October 23 to present. The last player that he signed is Semenyo.
I'll tell you what, if Johan Lang gets Semenyo for 30 million, he can keep his job and we get rid of Paratici.
He get a promotion. He get a promotion. Can I just say, talking about there's, people don't have joint co-directors of football. In 2015, Brentford appointed Phil Gills and Rasmus Andersen. And they've been there.
Gill was in charge, and Anderson was very much his deputy.
They were co-directors, and at Juventus, Paratici was there with, I think it was Marotta, and there's other examples in Italy currently now at Sampdoria and other clubs where they've got dual directors of football. So it's not a new thing. What they did say, the two of them, when they were in that meeting and they were all sat there, that there are lots of different models that they looked at as structure of a football club. And this is the structure that they decided that they were going to operate on. So, but it's not unusual, Sean, right? And the thing is,
it's very rare, Johnny. Sorry, I disagree. It's not unique. It's not unique, but it is rare.
No, it's become more popular due to the fact of the rise of the women's game and data and all the rest of it. But I would say that Gabonini, when he was the director of football for the nutty Italian boys at Watford and Udinese, he run both clubs director of football at the same time. No mean feat in itself. So personally, if Gabby did come back, I would be more than happy. And also he brought in Scalding, who's the only player, the only person that's left there. Steinson's gone and he went to Rangers. But Scalding is still there playing an integral part of the club development, loans and stuff. And he's well respected in the club and he runs a different department. So there are lots of different players that play, different people there who are playing big parts in the club. And I do agree with Sean. Lots of overlap.
Johnny, though, you're saying, but there's 5 to 6 players there, people there, but there's always 99% of the time, there's always one overarching boss.
Yeah, which will be, it will be Vinay, but under Vinay running the football is the Don, for sure. That he ain't coming back.
I hope so. But just quickly, I just want to ask you guys this, right? Can we just do a little bit of a comparison? So I think we can all agree that Steve Hitchin was an absolute bozo that wasted a lot of money, right?
Yeah,
but
killed us.
Forget about Paul Mitchell. Let's just have a look at in terms of players that they've signed. Would you this Romero, Galini, Hill, Sarr, Royale, Kulu, Bentancur, Ritchie, Bissouma, Perisic, Foster, Udogi, Spence, Longley, Danjuma, and Porro? How does that compare with
Vuskovic?
And
There's no Vuskovic. There's no Vicario.
I don't know why he's not on the list. But Vuskovic hasn't done anything in a Tottenham shirt, has he yet?
There's Vicario. There's Mickey van der Ven.
Vicario's been allocated to the Johan Lange segment.
That's not right. Anyway.
Yeah, but look. Either way, I listen, guys. I feel like Paratici brought in some good players. I'll stand by it. When I look at the list of players Paratici's brought in, my worry is in those attacking areas. Now, the saving grace for me is I think Thomas Frank knows a good forward, so I'm comfortable with that. But for me, that would be the one thing that I'm looking at with Paratici. I think Paratici buys safe players. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think a lot of that list for Paratici is safe. When I look at Kulu, Bentancur, I don't go, wow. I'm like, yeah, they're good players. They do a job. Both, by the way, I feel will be upgraded, or I think Kulu already has been. I think Bentancur will be. So, listen, the jury's out for me, and not in a negative way, not in a, oh my God, I can't believe Paratici's back, but I sit on that camp of 50-50 for me. I think he did a decent job, but nothing that gets me excited.
I'm with you. So I generally think that people, you mentioned earlier about the the sort of tribalism that exists within the Paratici thing. I think it always happens in football generally. I think there's people that are going to have their sort of stances on a specific take, and then people are going to back it, and they're going to cherry pick. They're going to remind you of all of the, if you like the person, if you like the topic in general, you're going to remind everyone all of the success stories and try to wash over the mistakes. And if you don't like someone or you don't like the topic, you're going to remind everybody of the mistakes and none of the successes. It happened with Daniel Levy. It will certainly happen with Paratici. It will happen with Johan Lange. And I think it will happen with, I'm sure it happens in all football clubs. But I think you're right, Sav. I agree with you. I think that for those people that love him, I think he's overrated. And those people that think he was a con man and just an absolute shambles, I think they're massively undervaluing the areas that he improved as well. He's certainly overseen a trajectory that's moved in the right direction with player transfers.
I just think, and I'd love to bring Lubo into this, I just think when I look at what we've been left with in centre midfield and what we're left with up top, I don't see what he did in those areas. If we're saying Porro was his, fine. But basically what we're doing is we're saying the back four is his, right? Porro, Udogi, Van der Ven and Romero. If we're saying that back four is his, absolutely fine. I then look at the midfield. Paulinho's not his, as far as we know, right? Bergvall, Gray, these kids haven't done anything really yet. Bentancur is okay. Kudus isn't his. The rest of the forwards are poor. So I feel like there's got to be a balancing act here, like you just said there, Sean. I think he's done some good, but I think a lot of it needs to be decided. Lubo, is that fair, or am I being harsh on him? Has he got some good forwards in that I'm missing?
There's been successes, there's been failures, and there have been a few that we're still waiting to see. It's a real mix. For me, both. It's been a real mix. I think with Lange, I think last season, I'm not talking about the window we've just had, which I think was the best window in terms of the quality of players that we brought in, not in terms of how many we should have bought, but I think the players we got, I think we all agree were quality players. And it'll be interesting to see how Sakai comes in and how he looks as well. But
that can't be right, Lubo. That can't be right, can it? Sorry, just quickly, that can't be right. Didn't Van der Ven sign before Lange joined the football club?
Yeah,
he did, didn't he? Yeah, sorry, sold sniper. One thing I'm really keen we don't do, let's not rewrite history. We can't have players being signed by people who weren't at the club when they were bought. I feel like that's a dangerous place to be.
Van der Ven and Vicario, and if you can put in Dragusin as Fabio's as well. No, well, no, that was. I'm saying Dragusin.
Dragusin falls under the time period where Lange was in charge, but Paratici was on secondment. But you could probably also make the argument that the relationship came from Juventus, and so probably Paratici, whilst he was on a consultancy role, was probably the guy that was championing that.
He consulted the whole deal. He's been friendly with the parents. He's been friendly with the parents, right? The parents are Olympic athletes. He's known them for years. He was the guy that brought him as a kid to Juventus. So he has a long-standing relationship with them. And he was the guy that managed to make the deal happen when Bayern Munich were coming in for him and to swing the deal. But the deal would have been done ultimately by Johan Lange. But the provider of that deal, the facilitator, was Paratici.
I think, you look at Lange last year, for me, I thought Bergvall at 8.5 million is probably the best deal we've done. Personally, I think we'll look back in 2 years' time and think that's the best deal pound for pound we've done since Dele Alli. And I think Lange's. I think talking about the money that you're paying, Seth. I think that's where I'm coming from. In terms of
what's he done?
Maybe Vuskovic.
So far tonight, we talk about Bergvall and Vuskovic as though these boys have done something, and as of yet, they haven't done anything. Like I'm a bit confused how quickly we put them in. Oh, look at that signing when they've not done anything really in a Spurs shirt.
On that basis, is it too early to judge Johan Lange at all? Because how long are you supposed to give players before you can judge them?
Well, it depends, because if they're coming in as a senior pro and ready to go, like look at Kudus. Kudus come in. I don't need to see Kudus anymore. I know he's a top signing.
Yeah, but Bergvall wasn't supposed to be first team regular, probably, right?
I agree, but which is why I'm not judging. I say this every week about Bergvall. This is why I don't judge. I know some of these guys like to put them on this pedestal. I'm not judging him yet.
No, I hear that. But the point I'm making is that if the remit for what Bergvall was supposed to be has been expedited and accelerated, and he hasn't exactly flopped as a first teamer, then if you're going to judge, and I think it's always premature to judge a director of football, in the moment, because these things take time, especially with young players. But the fact that Bergvall has sort of sink or swim time, well, he's definitely swum, right? He's definitely not embarrassed himself on that basis. Then, because of his age, because of the cost, that would you could put that in the back bracket of a successful signing, even though he might not have done. He hasn't had a lot of time to do anything massive, but he was a contributing part of our Europa League campaign at 18 years old. He's maintained a relatively good amount of minutes so far, which is probably well ahead of anyone's expectation. Therefore, if you're going to put it in the pro column or the con column in terms of a successful signing relative to how much time he's had to prove himself, I think you should probably say it's a good one. It's a successful one.
Sure. So then why is
exactly what I meant?
Yeah.
Okay, so why is Lange talked about so badly then? Because if we're gonna do this, then look at the players he signed this window. Everyone raves about Bergvall. People lose their mind about Gray. People are telling me how good Vuskovic is going to be. Like yada. So
I think everyone's over the moon with Well, everyone's over the moon with Xavi Simons, right? He hasn't done anything yet, but everyone's over the moon that we signed a player of that caliber. Is that one Johan Lange's? I think you have to put it in that column. Whether or not it was necessarily, all him and who else was involved, we don't know. But if we're just doing it on a simplistic, players that were signed under someone's tenure, then I think that Johan Lange, for as little time as he's had, like 2 years, then and 3 months in terms of the players that have come in recently, you should be reflecting on Johan Lange fairly positively, I think.
That was the question I was asking you, right? Again, as a host, I'm sitting on the fence on this, Sean. Is so far what I hear from everyone is Lange, and it's all very doom and gloom while Paratici just gets praise. But then when you mention, this is why I did it, when I mention the players Lange brought in, they get praise. So I'm just slightly confused, Sean, with the hate. That's not a right
I'm
word,
with you. I'm with you. I think people overestimate. Yeah, I agree.
Right. If you're going to rate Gray, if you're going to rate Bergvall, if you're going to rate Simons and Kudus and Paulinho, right, people like Solanke, then surely you have to look at Johan Lange and go, well, hasn't he done a bloody good job? Like, I don't know. I'm just...
Apart from maybe the fact that I think you can make the argument that maybe he didn't sign and like we didn't get a left winger, right? Like you said, Savile, for the last few months, maybe the players that we didn't sign is also on him as much as the players that we did.
Of course. Listen, this is why for me, and Lubo, I'll come back to you in one sec. This is why for me, I look at the good and bad of director of football, because I think you made the point earlier in the show, or someone did. No director of football you're ever going to look at their list and go, oh my God, they've got 100% success rate. It's just It's not going to happen. But Lubo, Lange is you love all the players Lange bought in, don't you? Like you about all of Lange's signings. So surely Lange's a great director of football.
When you look at who he's brought in this summer, if we're breaking it down under, as Sean said, which players are coming in under which director of football's tenure, then the perception of Lange has got to improve and got to be better than it was 12 months ago.
100%.
Because of the players like Pellegrini and Kudus that have come in and have just, they've been our best two players for me this season.
Sure.
You know, so they
What about the ones that got
improved.
away?
Sorry, Johnny?
What about the ones that got away? Who are we blaming for Morgan
Johnny,
Gibbs?
you're doing now the inverse, Johnny, of what you were saying to my stream earlier. You know, people always want to remind you.
Call him out. Call him out.
Johnny, how can you blame Lange for the?
I didn't blame Lange. No. I didn't say that. I said who is to blame. I didn't say he's to blame. I said who is to blame.
The answer's going to be Daniel Levy, isn't it? There's no point.
Well, who's to blame for Eze? Well, I know who's to blame for Eze. I know who's to blame for Arteta.
Eze we know. I can't blame Levy, and I'll reiterate again. And I said this at the time.
Blame Levy. He was debating. Listen,
not for Morgan Gibbs White. Not for Morgan Gibbs White.
Not for Morgan.
You're not
blaming who?
I think. Listen, Gibbs White's wife was in a precarious position with her pregnancy. He didn't need any more stress. He didn't want her risking problems with the pregnancy either, and he went for a quiet life, didn't he?
Yes,
so,
Mr. Merrick,
and you can't blame him. At the end of the day, his wife with the pregnant baby come first.
So Lugo, we're not blaming Lange or Levy for Gibbs White. Is that yes or no? Yeah, we're not blaming them.
We're not. No, I blame Levy for Eze. Forget.
And what? See, I don't even blame Levy. I don't blame Levy. I don't blame Levy for Eze. I don't blame Levy for Eze in any way, shape, or form. And I don't blame any of them for Savio, who wasn't available. So this window, who can we blame? Lange? You know the game I'm playing right now, guys. Whether or not you I think you will know what I'm doing here. Who are we blaming Lange and Levy for this summer?
Well, for not finding a replacement, if you couldn't get Savio, if you couldn't get Eze, if you couldn't get for not finding somebody else.
I completely agree. Can we blame him at the risk of covering old ground? I see Johnny's going to hate this. I don't blame Daniel Levy for not signing Paratici Eze. I don't blame Levy or Lange or any of them.
No, I blame Jeff.
Where is Jeff?
Yeah, but couldn't we could have got Eze years ago, even last year. We fluffed around with that deal. We could have got him before Arsenal.
That's a shoulda, woulda, coulda thing, isn't it? Like you can always make that argument. You could have signed Ronaldo before he left Sporting or wherever he was.
No, but we're talking about a player that was.
No, but we had Eze in a private corporate box at Spurs last season. Well, you know, his agent was there.
Still, what I've heard, old ITK. What I've heard though is that Arsenal had asked to be kept informed throughout the whole thing. And this is the whole thing with transfers. As much as you always think they're done, clubs will have intermediaries asking to be kept informed. And as soon as look at it, it was the day Spurs had an offer accepted or reached an offer, whatever terminology they used, Arsenal Same day, bang, offer goes in.
On top of that, there's
I think we
actually
got
commentary.
Yeah, but I'm talking about we could have got him
commentary
last year.
Hang
or
on,
the
hang
year
on.
before
There's
that.
commentary out there though that when he was about to join Tottenham and he phoned up Arteta the night before he was going to sign for Tottenham, and Arteta said, "Don't worry," as in like we'll figure it out tomorrow. It's going to get done. So that same conversation might have happened a week earlier had Tottenham
Don't
paid
make
the
me
money
play
earlier.
with Brennan Johnson. Please don't make me play with Richarlison. Come and get
Those
me.
quotes, Johnny, you're making out like that's bollocks, but there's literally quotes out there.
It's bollocks. It's fine. It is bollocks.
There's quotes from the horse's mouth.
So, Johnny,
Right.
Johnny, let me ask you, right? So you don't think in any way, shape or form that Arsenal would have been asked to be kept updated no matter how long it took Levy to find a deal? You don't think...
If Kyle Havertz had not been injured on that morning, he would have been a Spurs player. Yeah.
Ifs, buts and maybes, right? But he did get
You
injured.
asked the question and I'm just telling you. And Spurs hadn't. Spurs had not.
Arteta, Johnny, and Arteta said, "Don't worry," as in like, you're going to be an Arsenal player, boy. Don't worry about it. He didn't want to come to Tottenham.
Sorry, Jeff.
Chris Ramsey recommended Eze to us, and Chris Ramsey, obviously ex-Spurs youth coach, who's at QPR now, he developed Eze. He recommended to us years ago. We ignored it. Last season, we could have got Eze. We didn't jump on it. We waited until the worst time where we're going head to head with Arsenal.
Stel,
Who can we blame that on?
can I just ask? I'm going to drop this in. And Johnny, do you know the best thing with Johnny, right? He doesn't even have to say words. His facial expressions give everything away. It's absolutely brilliant. What I heard, right, Stel, what I heard was that we could have had him the year before, but that it was Ange that said no to the possibility of buying Eze. That's what I've heard. Johnny's giving me facial. Yeah.
Why would Ange say no to Eze?
Can I just say one thing?
Your manager, Stel. Your manager ruined the Eze deal.
So he said I don't buy that.
He's not an Ange player, is he? He's a maverick.
Listen, let me tell you, when he left Millwall, when Eze left Millwall, my friend and his son literally begged Chris Ramsey to take him to QPR, right? Beg him, right? And it was because he used to be in the academy and they had a relationship that he took him, right? And him and Les Ferdinand. And, it turned out to be the best thing, right? That he ever did. I always believed that one day he would be a Spurs player, but he was right. Ange was not top of Ange's list. He was not. There were other players.
Neither was a DM, Johnny, right? Neither was a DM. That entire 2-year period, the one thing we needed more than anything else was a DM to solidify that back line. And Ange didn't want that either. Your manager.
Hang on, Sean. No, sorry, Sean, you're massively wrong there.
My European trophy winning manager.
Yeah, but Sean, sorry, you're massively wrong. You can't buy a DM to solidify a backline when you've got a manager that doesn't have a backline. Can you? You can't. You've got to have a backline to solidify it.
Should have had a backline first. Yeah.
Listen, I don't believe this, because if there's one thing Ange did, it was attack. Right? He's going to say no to an attacking player. If it was a defensive mid, I'd agree with you. If it was another centre back, I'd agree with you. But an attacking player of his level, I don't think he'd say no to that.
They all worked hard. Eze is not your traditional off the ball guy. Eze's a maverick, right? Eze is like, do you remember those flower plant things?
He scores goals, he creates goals.
Remember you made a noise and that flower started dancing? Does anyone remember those? Yeah. That's Eze. That's what mavericks like Eze do. When the ball comes near them, they spring into life.
To sell them.
yeah, but there you go. Look,
we said no to it. We said no to Eze when he was before Andy came to the club as well.
Didn't he? I think David Pleat. I'm pretty sure.
Pleat, Chris Ramsey. We
went to Palace.
The point I'm trying to make is,
why
did we wait until this season to say, right, now we'll go for him when he's expensive, hot property, everyone's talking about him, he's just won a trophy. It was crazy.
My mate tried to sell him to Daniel, and Dougie Freeman didn't even have to wait. He jumped in, paid the money, just like he did with Adam Walton, while everyone else was fucking around and talking about it. Dougie Freedman went in and did the business, just like he did with Elise, just like he did with Walton, just like he did with many other players. Dougie Freedman is probably the most underrated director of football in football, and he didn't fuck around. And
he must have some failures as well, though, Johnny. Like, are we doing that? We're doing the same thing here. We're cherry picking the wins.
Yeah, no, he bought a boy from Brazil that was meant to be pretty good and hasn't done it. But
Franca, right?
Yeah,
Franca, yeah.
Who was very good in Brazil.
On the main, the players that he bought. So, like, I'm guessing he was responsible for Munoz and Decore and Lacroix and Richards. On the main, when you look at
Lacroix, Lacroix was actually what's name's idea. He wanted to sell Al Anderson and bought in Lacroix from Wolfsburg. That was Oliver Glasner's choice to do that. It was a player that he had identified, but he went out.
He was Mickey's partner, wasn't he? He was Mickey van der Ven's partner at Wolfsburg, wasn't he?
Correct. Yeah, he's played at Wolfsburg and good player, very good player.
Very good defender, that boy. He'll get a big move. He'll get a big move. Anyway, we've kind of gone off track. If you don't mind, guys, I'm going to do some super chats and then we'll move on. All in all, I guess the same as anything. As my mum used to say, the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating. And we're going to see, has anything changed? We will find out, not just in January. I feel like a lot of people in my show earlier going, I give them just January. Like, whoa, hang on. January, summer. Let's see what happens. But let's see. Are the kids interesting in success? Are Paratici and Lange going to be best mates? Is it all going to come crashing down? We'll find out.